Talk to me.
Information, news, and entertainment on demand.
WSRadio.com. Welcome to Moving and Motivating Radio.
Thanks for listening in. I'm Wade Taylor, and we're always happy on this show to inspire you in addition to moving and motivating you. You know, build your awareness, get you open to improving your life, and there's many, many paths to improving our lives. One area is recognizing, in addition to the physical improvement you need to do and the emotional improvement you need to do, there are things that are occurring at an energetic level. But those often seem a little more esoteric to us because we don't necessarily see it in our face. But it is there. Energy has an impact. And if you go back and listen to a prior interview I did with my guest, we talked about the fact that energy is real. And to kind of sum up that discussion, just as an example, when you walk into a room, you can feel the energy of the room, right? So energy is real. Energy is intangible, but it is impactful. So once you accept that energy can have an influence, energy can have an impact, now you should be curious, okay, how do I work with this? How do I leverage this information that I have? And how real is it? Because, you know, a lot of people, again, just have a hard time accepting that something so intangible can be impactful. So fortunately, to help me understand this, I'm joined on today's show again by someone we've interviewed in the past. Jit Gupte works in the world of energy. And Jit, you've seen the impact of this, but I assume you do run into people that just really have a hard time accepting it and maybe think this is more like a placebo effect. You know, this really isn't having any kind of tangible effect. It's just you're telling me something to make me feel good, and I'm just going to feel good even though nothing's really going on. So I'm assuming you've met those people that have that mindset?
Yes, very much, Wade. That's exactly what I've been seeing very frequently in the kind of clients that approach me. And from what I can tell them is that, in the field of energy work that I do, there are areas of your past life or your past childhood events which have happened and passed by. But in some ways, those events have left an energy imprint or an impact on your life, and you still tend to carry that impact in some form, and it is active.
And that energy impact actually is playing out in a tangible, physical manner.
Exactly, because that impact, although it has long gone by and has passed, the time, if you can still actively feel that same emotion, if you can still actively go through the same trauma or the same feeling, even in your present moment, it suggests that the moment has not passed by. It is still active. And if it is active, it is still coloring up your current present thoughts. And if it is affecting your current thoughts, it's going to affect your current actions. And that's where the whole syndrome of the past, present really impacting me, the energy really impacting me starts to really become a real kind of a dimension.
Yeah, the past is tangibly affecting me in my present. And so as we look to, part of the things we're talking about here is healing, understanding energy in the context of healing. And as we're trying to seek out healing, there's more to us than the physical, and this kind of energy should be addressed as part of, say, a complete healing package. So, I do want to say we're not talking about this type of healing in place of medicine, okay? If you've got a broken leg, the leg should be, fixed, right? They should put a cast on it. But there can be energetic effects either that help cause that broken leg or as a result of that broken leg that also need to be fixed. So again, It's an additive thing. But we need you to appreciate that energy truly is a component of your overall health and everything that's happening in your life. And if you don't acknowledge and address it, you can never be fully healed. And you've got real world examples, Jit, of people that have had this combination of physical and energetic problems.
That's exactly right what you mentioned, because although we are physical and we have physical issues, we also have this layer of energy. So clearly the impact of the energetic healing that we work with is an added layer. So it should not kind of be in place of conventional medicine if you're going through that kind of a process. But let me give you a couple of examples where I have seen completely baffling kind of readings in my research that I do, where the person came in with a symptom or a kind of a trauma which they were facing in their physical body. And the reason for that was something that would be completely unbelievable from a medical perspective. For example, there's this young woman who approached me for severe back pain, which she had for almost 10 years. And it was kind of crushing her, day-to-day life because it was very severe. She had sleep issues and she couldn't really have the full enjoyment of life because of that back pain. And when I did my research through the process that I work with, and I tried to explore what might be the core issues that are affecting that pain. And believe me, the issues that came about were so difficult to believe at first, but that's what it was. She had a couple of very kind of deep-set energetic memories and issues related to blocked forgiveness of her own self. And this created a complete layer of sadness which she carried within herself. And this was directly caused by one trigger point, which was the burden of responsibility that she was holding towards her own family. Now, it happened so because her father had passed away at a very young age, and she, as one of the elder daughters in the house, had taken over this entire burden subconsciously, and that burden had left a huge impact on her physical body, and that had manifested as a kind of pain that grew, and it kind of exponentially got worse over the period of time, and she then started to have physical symptoms of pain in her body. So now when we tried to research and clear this emotional aspect of her existence, magically, literally within a matter of 48 hours or less, the entire pain, which was severe and crushing, just vanished. And that would make me kind of look at this as a very clear evidence of how a past or emotional kind of energy that she held for so long, almost a decade, was responsible for pain, which was then resolved completely.
Yeah, so that's a perfect example of kind of an bad feedback loop that happens. She takes on the energy of responsibility, and we talk about the weight of the world on your shoulders, and she kind of had that, but it physically manifested because she felt that burden. She was probably carrying her body a certain way. She was probably acting in certain ways that added to the physical problem, and then the pain of that physical problem reinforces her feeling of depression and burden, which creates more physical problem. And if you're a surgeon, if you're a doctor and you're going, well, let's see, are vertebrae out of place, whatever, and they might even make best guesses, right, that could or could not have a positive impact as they're solely in the physical world, not realizing all of that is rippling from the energetic burden. And like you said, once you cleared that energetic burden, then her physical reality could be more in tune, more in alignment.
Yes, I think it's back to its original blueprint, as I call it, because it was never meant to be, in a defective state. It just got there because of certain things that happened. And once those factors were eliminated, it just got back to its normal, natural, and perfect blueprint state. And now she is enjoying a very healthy and satisfied life because of that clearing. So that's how it works.
Coming to terms with that. And you've got another example.
Yes. So this other example is of elderly woman who approached me, and she had sustained chronic cough, which nobody could diagnose or pinpoint why it was happening, for, you wouldn't believe it, for almost 60 years. And she went through that, and she had to, as a result of that cough, compromise her lifelong passion of singing. And she was in a very miserable state because she couldn't sleep, the cough was bothering her all the time, and she couldn't live her passion. So, interestingly, when I looked at her case and I researched it through my process and tried to unwind and decode what might be the core issues affecting that cough, it was a very unbelievable reason, again in this case, where the core issue was her unfulfilled obligation towards her daughters. Now, as a mom, she had not been able to successfully marry her, daughters off by the time they were of right age, and she had held that guilt within her as a mother, and that had manifested itself into some kind of physical trauma, which then manifested itself as a lingering cough, and there was no medical reason for that to happen. So when I went in and cleared this kind of a feeling of guilt and the obligation that she had kind of held on into her system, the cough literally vanished within a matter of a day. And she was completely free of the 60-year-old trauma, and she was so happy that she was now finally able to get back to her passion and get her sleep back.
Right. So again, getting to an underlying cause. And now let's maybe make this point. We said that this isn't designed to tell you not to tend to traditional medicine when appropriate, right? This is in addition to traditional medicine. And there are some times when, maybe you've got a broken leg, for instance, and there's nothing energetic related to that, right? Just you went out, you fell down, you broke your leg. So there's a healing process that's pure, tangible medicine, not as much energy. But in this cough situation, you just pointed out a situation where it wasn't as much tangible medicine, and tangible medicine made its best effort for a decade to try to fix this. But this is where it really is more the energy. And so it is in some ways instead of. And we're making this point to give you hope that if you are one of those people that you've been going to doctor after doctor, and modern medicine with all of its amazing tools still isn't able to seem to come to a resolution for you, be open that, your problem may actually be over in the world of energy. And until you talk to somebody like Jit Gupte, you will never have the opportunity to explore and heal that. And so, again, Jit, this is wanting to encourage people to explore every option, but be open to this realm that could be a solution. And this doesn't go in the face of modern medicine. It kind of builds on it. Aren't there other, say, modern scientific examples today that reinforce the veracity of what you're doing?
Yeah, absolutely. You're perfectly right in saying that it is not in conflict with modern medicine. In fact, it is just another dimension of our understanding of the human self and the human existence. So we are just adding in an additional layer, an additional dimension to the healing. And in many cases, it can accelerate what medicine or modern medicine can provide. So it's not in conflict. That said, if you would really look at the overall subject of energy medicine or energy healing or quantum healing as it is now referred to, there are so many ways in which the core fundamental principles of this method have been kind of explained in the public domain. We are now in perfect understanding of what we refer to as subconscious memory and subconscious thought processes. We have accepted that as part of psychological hypnotherapy and many other modalities who use that to great benefit. We have accepted the notion of body memory. We have accepted the concept of cellular memory, even going as far as genetic memory. Now, in my understanding, all of these are in some ways or some dimension pointing out to a broader perspective, a broader consciousness that we carry within ourselves, which contains memory. These are all memories that we're referring to, and these are all past events, past traumas, good or bad memories that we carry. And these are important. Why? Because if they were just past events which didn't have an impact on the current life, no one wouldn't be talking or researching about these or applying them in therapy. But because they have an indelible impact on our present situation, it becomes extremely important to explore these past events and try to resolve what happened at that point in time and try to find methods to unravel that, transform that scenario, and then bring change in the current scenario.
Yeah.
So that bridge has to be established, and it cannot be ignored because it is something that we have all come to accept in some form or the other.
Yeah, and just again, we need to accept that this is real. It's kind of like having a Pavlovian response that you never realized consciously you were trained for, but you're still having the Pavlovian response, and nobody denies that humans can have a Pavlovian response, right? So this does meld with modern science. And I like the fact that you had these proven outcomes because that does give us some evidence. Now, some people may want to know all the details. Show me exactly X, Y, Z. And I would say, we'll see what we can come up with. Give us time, but don't let that inhibit you the same way that modern medicine isn't inhibited. Let me use as example aspirin. Doctors prescribe aspirin every day. We all take aspirin to fix a multitude of problems. Most people don't realize that modern medicine really doesn't understand necessarily why aspirin does this.
That's right, yes.
Right? They don't actually have all these tests for all these things that explain this is exactly what aspirin's doing for it to work. What they have is multiple millennia of evidence that, wow, this has this effect. So they're prescribing aspirin, something as basic and traditional as that, without knowing exactly why it works. So if Jit has a solution that has multiple proven experiential situations where it works, we don't necessarily need to know all the details of why. And you're helping people every day with that confidence in yourself and your methodology, correct?
That's right, yes. And of course, there are details to be had. But in my view, if a process has been able to produce consistent results of a profound nature in scenarios where many other actions that you've taken have not gotten you that result, then I would call that as a plain and simple evidence of the result. And if it has been proved consistently, it is, I would say, more of a proven result. So in that sense, although we have no tools or mechanisms or methods to scientifically evaluate how energy actually works in the physical self of the human body, there is evidence and results and testimonials from people who have experienced it. And we go by that. And I think people are more and more aware of how it is impacting their lives. They're open to it. And it is causing a huge shift in the way people are actually looking at their bodies, just beyond the anatomy and the bone structure.
Yeah, so they can have confidence that this does work, that it's worth looking into, and especially, again, if modern medicine is failing you, If all the pills and shots and surgeries aren't doing what you need to be fixed, be aware the problem could be in a different level. It could be in the level of energy. And if you want more evidence, more stories and such, Jit, I understand we can go to your website. Why don't you give us your website?
Yes, that's www.theproblemfreelife.com.
Okay, theproblemfreelife.com, which definitely sounds like something that we want to aspire to. But again, you can get more background information on how this has worked, the different things that Jit is working with, and kind of, just the underlying philosophy of it all. And so, Jit, I think we've hopefully made the point to everybody that embrace energy is real. It may be intangible, but it is impactful. There are brilliant people like Jit Gupte out there that can help you utilize this energy to fix, heal, and have a positive impact on your life. Back next time with more here on Moving and Motivating Radio on WSRadio.com.